him a lot because we got him on the spot. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome to the Rated Rabbi Sports Card Podcast, where sports cards and pop culture meet the 1984 All-Star Game. I am your host, Rabbi David Spinrad. This is episode 14 of The Stick. And I'm feeling a little punchy tonight. I'm feeling a little saucy tonight. It's a little later than I would prefer to record, but I thought this would just be a great way to unwind after a super long and very difficult week. I've been a single dad for the last 10 days. It's been horrible. Oh my God. I don't know how people do it. It's just, oh God. Oh, I hope my wife comes home soon. Anyway, I'm glad to spend a little bit of time with you. This is, of course, a podcast companion to my 80 card master set, all PSA graded, all based on the 1984 All-Star Game played on July 10th, 1984 at Candlestick Park. And tonight's featured star is Candlestick Park itself. You know, some people say the story of the Bible, and more specifically, the story of the Torah, the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible, is actually a story about God, that God ultimately is the protagonist. And so I was thinking about that in this episode, that perhaps the true star, the true protagonist of this whole game and all the lives that intersect the 84 All-Star Game, maybe the true protagonist is actually Candlestick Park itself. Now, I know that Candlestick Park is not one of the more iconic stadiums in our collective memories. It's no Wrigley, there's no Ivy, concrete. There's no Fenway, no Green Monster. We had chain link fences and we loved it. It's not Yankee Stadium with the facade. We had Cardiac Hill, the walk-up entrance that in the first 19 games caused 6 heart attacks. It doesn't have the charm of a Camden Yards, but it turned out okay. We got Pac Bell, SBC, AT&T, Oracle Park. It all turned out just fine. So Candlestick Park is none of those, but man, Candlestick Park was my ballpark. Candlestick Park is where I learned to love baseball. The green bluegrass of Candlestick Park, those perfectly chalked white lines, all of it. Players out there just playing an easy game of catch, right? They didn't seem like they were making any effort at all as they warmed up on the field, but like the ball just would shoot out of their arms, like boom, this line drive throws, just a little long toss, right? You try doing that without a running start. Man, that's my ballpark. Candlestick Park is where I learned baseball with my dad and my brother and all my buddies. It was the site of my first baseball game. It was, of course, where I saw the All-Star Game, but before that I believe it was in 1981, Jerry Royce for the LA Dodgers, 8-0 through a no-hitter, almost a perfect game. Just an error by Bill Russell on a Billy North ground ball kept him from a perfecto. I still remember that game. We were upstairs right behind the plate, and I couldn't understand why everybody was cheering for the Dodgers. Not only were the Giants going to lose to the Dodgers, the Giants were getting no hit. It was the worst thing in the world. The Giants fans were all cheering. My own father, Dad, how could you cheer for the Dodgers, man? Remember that 87 team when they won the West, the Hum Babies, Roger Craig. Man, that was a great team. That steal of Kevin Mitchell to go with Robbie Thompson and Will the Thrill, the 89 World Series. Woo, what a ball club that was. I remember that 93 season, 103 wins, finished second to the Braves. Oh my God. Remember 1997? Remember 1997? That was one to remember. I remember in September. I think it was like, what was it, like September 17th, 18th. Giants and Dodgers were in a pennant race. It was old school coming down the wire. A 2-game set. Dodgers coming into the stick. We went to both of them. It was a night game, the first one. I think it was probably a Wednesday night or Tuesday night, whatever. Sat in left field bleachers real close. And Darren Lewis, who had been on the Giants, was now a Dodger. They moved from center to left. And I remember just being on D. Lou all night long. It was incredible. Bonds hits a home run. Giants win 2-1. They come back the next day. That's when you know you don't have kids. You're like, we're going to go to a 2-game series against the Dodgers. That's right. We were crazy. It was amazing. So we went the first night. We saw the Giants beat the Dodgers 2-1. Bonds homers. Roberto Hernandez closes it out. We come back the next day. Giants, Dodgers. It's a showdown. Oh, my God. Game is tied. It's the 10th inning. Rod Beck is in pitching, right? Roberto Hernandez had come in. He blew the lead. We go to extras. Beck comes in. He allows the bases loaded in the 10th. Nobody out. Oh, he was already on his last legs, right? Hernandez was in. Rob then would be. This is like it for Rod Beck. But he made this one last stand for the Giants, and the Giants, man, bases loaded, no outs. Gets the strikeout. It's 1 out. And then in comes the great Eddie Murray. Also reaching the end, but it's still Eddie Murray coming up from the left side. Hits a comebacker to the mound. Shooter picks it up. Makes a play at the plate. Down to first. A double play. We're going to the bottom of the 10th. Unbelievable. Beck not only pitches the 10th. Beck not only pitches the 11th. Beck pitches the 12th. Beck pitches 3 shutout innings in this game against the Dodgers. It's the bottom of the 12th. Local product, Stanford man, catcher Brian Johnson, backup catcher, comes up in the 12th. Boom! Walk-off, game-winning home run. The Giants win. Oh, my God. Can you tell? That was one of my favorite memories of the Giants fan. Unbelievable. Let me show you another amazing memory. I was at the last game of Candlestick Park. I was at the finale with my dad, Stan, the Shark, my mom, my Auntie Marty, Uncle Frank, cousins Danny, and just all of us, the whole mishpucha. We're out there with the mishpacha. We're out there in the left field. We're upstairs. Sellout crowd. Tell it goodbye. Let me show you what I got to show you. I found this to share. There it is. The final game at Candlestick Park. I was there with the family September 30th, 1995, 1:05 p.m. Fittingly, amazingly, Giants, Dodgers. We got the 4 Hall of Famers right there. Cepeda, Mays, Willie Mack, and Marichal. And it's like an old-timers game picture, though. You can tell, like a little long in the tooth. But so good, so good. And, God, such incredible memories from Candlestick Park. I have another really amazing memory I'm going to share with you towards the end of this episode. But I want to talk a little bit right now about the development, the origins of Candlestick Park. So Candlestick Park is a result of San Francisco trying to lure a team. Baseball is growing. It seems natural for it to go west of the Mississippi. The Giants, San Francisco, San Francisco wants to make this thing happen. They're able to put together $5 million through the city, and it turns out they're about $5 million short. So city mayor, SF Mayor George Christopher, forms sort of a quote-unquote nonprofit called Stadium Incorporated. On this Stadium Incorporated, because he's able to sort of channel and divert money from all these different funds to go into this to try to build up the coffers. As they're developing, as they're looking for the rest of the money, of course, they form a board. On this board is a developer, a guy named Charles Harney. Now, around that same time, Charles Harney also purchases the acreage around Candlestick Park for $6,500 for $6,500 an acre, which he then turns around. He's on the board, and 2 of his employees are on the board, right? You have 3 board members, right? He purchases land for $6,500 an acre. He turns around and then sells it back to the city and county of San Francisco for $66,000 That's pretty good. That seems like more than a 10x profit, Mr. Hardy. Right? So he turns around and sells. Oh, by the way, did you? Yeah, there were no other bids. There were no. It was just we're going to sell it to you, Charles Hardy. We're going to build the stadium here. There have been other initiatives. There have been conversations to build it in McLaren Park, an urban park, better known for finding dead bodies. To be honest with you, about a mile west of San Francisco. There was also a push to build it where Moscone Center, the downtown ballpark, which is really interesting because the reason they didn't go with that one, I understand, is because people were afraid of traffic, right? Downtown ballparks at that point were the opposite of what cities wanted to do. And now, as we know, with a place like Oracle, it's quite the opposite. So Candlestick Park becomes the location. It's a little corrupt. There is a grand jury that investigates it. The papers bury it because they wanted to stay in tight with City Hall, and quite honestly, they wanted to build the stadium. They wanted to bring out the Giants, or bring out a team, right? We don't know it's the Giants yet. The architect who's brought in is an architect named John Bowles. If you are familiar with every single one of the Macy's ever built in the Bay Area, you know, those like kind of odd, gray, minimalist, kind of futurist, all concrete buildings. All those Macy's also built by John Bowles. Let's say a word about the microclimates in the Bay Area. If you're not familiar, the Bay Area has massive variations and deviances in weather depending on where you are. You could be standing in the Mission District on a beautiful day. It could be in the 70s, and then go out by the ocean, go on the outer Richmond, it'll be in the 50s. Literally, you go a few miles, 20 degrees. If you're in the East Bay, it can be 60 in the city. You go in the East Bay, it can be 90. So it's not at all unusual because of the topography, the mountains, of course, the bay, which is rather deep, and the Pacific Ocean. All those environmental factors lead to big swings in weather, really sometimes just a few miles away, one from the other. So, microclimates. The Pacific Ocean, its weather in that part of the country, its weather is right around, the temperature of the water is right around 50 degrees. That's kind of the constant water temp. Maybe a couple degrees warmer in the winter, a little cooler in the summer, a little cooler in the winter. Out there in those open ocean waters, strong winds are generated. Those winds draw up cold from that 50-degree water. In San Francisco, there's a thing called the Alamany Gap. If you know where the Alamany Freeway is, basically there's a part of the land, even with all of the mountains and hills in San Francisco, where it's just unobstructed. And what would happen is the wind from the Pacific Ocean would gather and then blow onshore through the Alamany Gap, like essentially a jet stream. This wind just buffeting straight across the city in this spot. Go all the way across the city until it would hit Bayview Hill. Now, if you've ever been to San Francisco, if you've ever been to the Stick, if you've ever seen the pictures of, there's that 500-foot hill, small mountain right next to the stadium that's called Bayview Hill. Now, when this wind coming from the Pacific Ocean would hit Bayview Hill, you might think it would be a buffer, right? Buffering Candlestick from the wind, but not at all what happens. What happens is when that wind blows across the city and hits the hill, it compresses the wind. It compresses the wind, and in that compression, the wind accelerates around the eastern side of Bayview Hill, and then comes barreling in towards Candlestick Park. Right? The original Candlestick Park was built open to left field. So that wind would come just barreling in straight down, this Arctic blast coming straight in from left field. Now, Willie Mays was a right-handed hitter. Willie Mays played from 1960 through 1971 at Candlestick Park, 12 seasons. Willie Mays had 660 home runs. Willie Mays played every day. You think it's fair to say, because of the wind, that Willie Mays may have lost 5, 6, 7 home runs in a season? Is it too much to believe a guy who hit 660 home runs, lost home runs to the wind? So if he had 5 he lost 5 in a year, it would have meant that he would have lost 60 home runs in a career. He would have had 720 home runs. He lost 7 home runs a year at 84 to 660, right? It may have been that Mays may have broken Hank Aaron's record. We'll never know. Anyway, I'm excited. It's a really great story. So when Giants owner Horace Stoneham came to view the site as a potential location to bring his team westward, the city fathers, they were no dummies, they were hustlers. They actually brought Stoneham in the morning. And if you know Candlestick, in the early morning is fine, 10, 11 o'clock. It's not windy, it's gorgeous. He brought them 11 o'clock in the morning, nice sunny day. Mr. Stoneham, this is where the stadium is going to be. The story that when Chub Feeney came, who was a Giants general manager, he had the intelligence to ask the construction workers if it was always this windy. He actually came in the afternoon. He said, so mid-afternoon. So guys, is it always this windy? And the construction workers responded, no, only between 1 and 5, right? This was after the decision was made, after the Giants were actually already in San Francisco and the stadium was being built. Anyway. So Candlestick finally opens after a series of costly delays. It finally opens in April the 12th, 1960, with a game against the St. Louis Cardinals. April 12th, 1960, the Giants win that first game with the stick 3-1. In attendance on that day is Blanche McGraw, the widow of Giants legendary manager John McGraw, as well as Vice President Richard Nixon. Some fun stuff. I mentioned that in the first 19 games, there were 6 heart attacks up a hill called Cardiac Hill, a hill you had to walk up to get in to Candlestick Park. Did you also know that in the original building of Candlestick Park, they laid 35,000 feet of natural gas piping? Originally, Candlestick Park was supposed to have a radiant heat, supposed to keep you warm from the bottom up. However, they buried this in 5 inches of concrete. The instructions in its installation said to put it in 1 inch of concrete. So for you Giants fans who went out there, lower deck, you were supposed to have beautiful radiant heating, but like many other parts of Candlestick Park, they messed that up horribly. Let's take a look at some other fun stuff. So in preparation for the 49ers, they did a couple things. The Niners moved in 1971. We'll talk about the enclosure in a second, but in 1970, those of you listening on my podcast, I'll describe what we're seeing on the stream. It is them rolling out artificial turf. I can't believe I found this picture. It's a bunch of guys rolling out artificial turf over a slab of concrete. And oh my, can you imagine playing on this? Looks like there's paper thin green carpet on concrete. 1970, the Giants played most of the 70s basically on green concrete. Niners come in 1971. Originally, the stadium had built where the upper deck basically went from the foul pole in left field, wraps around, and ends right around first base. So it's open all in the outfield. In preparation for the Niners, they enclosed the entire stadium. They put in some seating that can be pushed back underneath the overhang in right field to be pulled out and create one giant section going all the way from the field all the way to the upper deck. When they enclosed the stadium, they thought, well, maybe it'll stop that wind from blowing in so strongly from left field. What happened was it created different wind conditions. Instead of blowing in straight, now the wind swirled. And I can attest to, I would sit and watch those cellophane hot dog wrappers just blow and blow in circles and circles. And finally they would catch a jet stream and they'd go flying up against the chain link fence. And it's so weird. Baseball and sports have changed so much. Right? In my lifetime, it was normal to see like trash, trash blowing on the field. Can you imagine the multi-billion-dollar industry of sports having trash on the field? That was like what it was when I was a kid. So you have this swirling winds, and at night you see the fog come creeping in over the rim of the stadium. But man, that was my home. That was Candlestick. That was Craw to Candlestick. I came, I saw, I survived. I was there with my dad and my brother. First game, the first extra inning night game at Candlestick Park where they gave out the Craw to Candlestick. I came, I saw, I survived. Man, you know what? It could still be nice there during the day. I saw plenty of beautiful day games. I remember a Sunday game against the Pirates. It was a game, and then it was followed by a Beach Boys concert. Why I remember this? I don't know. I remember we had good seats downstairs, right? First base. I remember the grounds crew spraying us with a hose. It was so hot. What else do you remember about the stick? The foul ground. The foul ground. Let me show you a picture of it. I'm going to just go right here so you can see it. This is a multi-purpose stadium. Yeah. So if you see where that guy's arms are in the picture, it's an upper deck picture taken by my buddy Kenny V. That end is one of the end zones, and it would go straight across the field where the other end zone would be out in that left field, where left field wall is. So that's the layout, but look at how much foul territory there is, and that was normal. I checked that out. Huge amount of foul ground. So even if you had good seats, you were super, super far from the field. All right. 1992. I'm coming back from a vacation in Montana with my buddy Ross Sargent. We're driving through kind of by Park Presidio, and we're listening to KNBR, the sports leader, and we hear the Giants have agreed they're going to be sold. Owner Bob Lurie, who saved them in '76 from moving to Toronto, from being bought by Labatt's Brewing Company, is going to sell. The Giants can't get a stadium built. Candlestick is, it's Candlestick. And the voters keep voting down initiatives to build a new stadium. So he's made the decision that he is going to sell the team to a group in Tampa, St. Pete, and that the Giants would be leaving San Francisco. And it was horrible. It was terrible. It was heartbreaking. The Giants were going to leave San Francisco. And then our hero and savior, Peter McGowan of Safeway, puts together a group to save the Giants. The Giants are saved. Immediately, he goes to work on, well, the second most important thing is actually the third most important thing. The third most important thing he does, he starts fixing up Candlestick, right? Takes, you would be surprised, a little green paint on gray concrete will do. They change the field. No longer would there be a chain link fence with all that room between the left field fence and the permanent bleacher seats way out there, which were awesome for chasing after home runs, like an 80-foot gap between the seats and maybe not 80 feet, maybe 50 feet between the seats and the chain link fence where you go charging after home runs. What they did was they put in a green wall, got rid of the chain link, and they put bleachers in left field. Painted different spots of the place green, made it nice. The second most important thing is McGowan made Willie Mays a San Francisco Giant ambassador. They brought Willie in close, made him central to the organization as he always should have been. And the most important thing that Peter McGowan did, that the Giants did in 1993, was they signed Barry Bonds to a 6-year, $43.75 million contract. Man, that was exciting. He was coming off an MVP award. He was good. Actually, he was coming off of 2 MVP awards. He won in 91 and 92, I think. So I remember I was a vendor. I don't know if I ever mentioned to you, but I used to, in college and the year after college, I used to sell, hot dogs, ice cream, whatever at Candlestick Park and Oakland Coliseum. So 1993, I just graduated college. working to make some scratch, trying to figure out my life. Giants had been sold, and everything was in utter disarray. The company that had the contract, the vending contract, told all of us vendors to be out for a 1 o'clock game, told us to be out at 10 o'clock in the morning, 3 hours before the game, because they had no idea what was going on. They just knew we needed us. They needed us there, be there. Okay, fine. I'm there 10 o'clock in the morning, and it's in disarray. There's no security at all. Yeah. So let me tell you about what happened because I got there at 10 o'clock in the morning and because there was no security at all. First, let me tell you about the game. Giants played the Marlins that day. It's the Marlins' first road game, their expansion year. Mays is on the field to present the MVP award to his godson, Barry Bonds. Strangely, and I watched a video on this, Michael Bolton is there. I think Michael Bolton was a friend of Barry Bonds. That flowing hair, Michael Bolton, he's like the Kenny G of singers. He was huge at the time. He's got the Giants hat. Right? I don't know why he was on the field. He must have just been a buddy. So there had been all this conversation about how can anybody be worth $43.75 million for 6 years? How can a player make $7 million in a single season? Well, in the bottom of the second, Barry Bonds gets his first at bat as a Giant off of Chris Hammond for the Marlins. I watched the video, I remembered, but there was one thing I didn't remember. Bonds at that point in his career actually chokes up on the bat. Remember Bonds used to choke up? It seems so weird from later Bonds. But Bonds definitely used to choke up on an inch on the bat. So his first at bat, how could we pay him? Come on, no one's worth $7 million a year. His first at bat, Bonds crushes a home run into the right field seats, the family section, those bleacher seats they made into football seats, and nobody said a word about his contract ever again. Bonds goes on to have a monster 1993 season. He homers, he rounds the bases, he goes into the dugout. Giants fans are going nuts. He comes out, curtain call. Man, you know what card I really want? I want a 1993 Topps Finest Refractor Bonds. That is the Bonds card I want for my collection. A, because it connects me to that 93 season and an incredible Bonds year. B, it's the first year of Topps Finest Refractors, the first refractors ever made. It ain't cheap, but I only want one Barry Bonds card. I want that 93 refractor, and someday it will be mine. Okay, let's go back to what I was talking about a second ago, in that I get there 3 hours early to vend the home opener against the Marlins. Everybody is incredibly excited. There have been banners that said "Save Our Giants." They've been altered now to say "Saved Our Giants." I get there super early. There's really nobody there. And as I said, including there's no security. So I kind of walk a little closer to the field, come down the stands, get the lower boxes, go a little closer. And like I said, there's nobody there. Look around. Just kind of step through this little chain opening, and I go down onto the field. I'm like, what are they going to do? Whatever. There's nobody there to do anything. I'm like, I think I'm going to sit in the dugout. So I sit in the third base dugout. That's the Giants. That's the visitors' dugout. The visitors dugout in the third baseline, and simple dugout. It's just a bench. Just a bench. There's nothing else to it. A little water fountain, and I'm sitting there, and then all of the sudden, these three guys start walking out, and I look. I'm like, that looks like Jerry Garcia. And sure enough, come out walking onto the field hours before the game. It's Vince Welnick, it's Bob Weir, and it's Jerry Garcia coming out to practice the national anthem. This is April. Jerry's still alive, April 1993. And it's basically just Vince, Bobby, Jerry, and me. Dave Spin Red, hanging out in the dugout, watching them practice their harmonies for the national anthem. I mean, it was like, I'm not going to pretend I'm a huge Deadhead. I saw him a couple times with Jerry. Amazing, but it was more like the experience that was amazing. I mean, who's a big Dead fan? West Coast Jewish Chris, big Deadhead. We're super close, but that's a spot where our friend Venn diagram kind of doesn't overlap. But I gotta tell you, it was super cool because I had a sense of I knew who they were. I liked them, I didn't love them. And they're out there practicing harmonies, just me and Vince and Bobby and Jerry. I found a picture to show you. Check this out. There they are, actually singing the national anthem. Friends at home. You've got Vince and Jerry wearing Giants jackets. You can see it's windy out. Their hair is blowing. Vince in the left, Bobby in the middle, Jerry on the right. They sounded great. They sounded great that day. And I will never forget sitting in the dugout before that game and watching them harmonize. That was unbelievable. Okay, we've been talking for a long time. I want to wrap this up with a really super duper cool mail day. It's a mail day that I have been sitting on now for a couple of weeks, and I want to share it with you. Podcast listeners, I will do my very best to describe it. I won this in a recent golden auction. I think one of the cool things about the massive proliferation of sports card auction websites is, well, sometimes there are too many. And if you are paying attention, there are opportunities to get some pretty cool stuff at a very, very reasonable price. And this is one of those examples. So I was watching this, and when it came up, I thought, that's kind of cool. This is kind of bullseye to me as a collector. I'm going to make a play on it. And I won. I'm so excited to open it together with you. It's out of the box. Only a thin piece of bubble separates it from us. Oh, wow. Oh, this is so cool. Oh, my gosh. All right. Let's take a look. I'm opening. There's actually two items for our listeners, our viewers. You're with me. I'm going to show you item number one. Oh, wow. That is super cool. Okay. All right, let's show it to you. Let's take a look. Item number one. This is a ticket stub from the very first game. That game I talked about before, April 12th, 1960. This is a ticket stub from the first game ever played at Candlestick Park. Giants 3, St. Louis Cardinals 1. It is in a glorious PSA 1, all full of pinholes. Somebody had it on their bulletin board. The color is pretty darn faded, but it's mine. Upper stand reserved, section 23, row 14, on the aisle, seat number 1, a grand total of $2.50. It's got a super cool logo, a giant leaping and making a catch across his body. Horace Stonham's facsimile signature on the bottom. Look at that, game 1. That is a ticket stub to the first game ever played at Candlestick Park, and I am so pleased to share it with you here. But wait, that's not all. We have a second item to share. Oh my God. If I wasn't such a doofus, I'd be ashamed of myself, but nothing could feel better than this. This is super fun. This is what it's all about. All right. I'm actually just going to hold it up and show it because it's bigger and I want to be able to open it up. So this is from that very same game. This is a scorecard from that opener against the Cardinals, April 1960. There actually is a drawing of what the original Candlestick Park looked like. You can see how the upper deck went from the left field corner to just past first base, open in the outfield, a giant scoreboard out there and right. Check this out. A full-on program full of advertisements from 1960. Amazing. Price list of Giants souvenirs. Can y'all see that? Oh, that's cool. Autographed ball. Probably was a facsimile ball, but $3. Huh. Wow, this is so incredibly cool. Let me just do a quick flip because I didn't know it had all this in it. This was not actually in the description on Golden Site. All these local restaurants that are long gone. Oh my God. This is so amazing. They did show this though. Check. It's a full on, not just a scorecard, it's like a program. Check this out. This is what I want to show you. This is the scorecard that whoever owned this actually, they kept score at this game. It's unbelievable. They had pretty good handwriting too. So let me tell you some of the names you might recognize. Bill White in center, Kenny Boyer at third, batting fifth, playing at first base. Stan the man, Stan Musial. Wow. This is so cool. And then for the Giants, Jimmy Davenport at third base, batting third in center field. Let's say, hey, kid, Willie Mays. Think about this. The person who kept score on this, like, that's Willie Mays, batting third. Let's write him in. Wow. Batting fourth, Willie McCovey. Batting fifth, Orlando Cepeda. On the hill for the Giants that day was Sam Jones. This is one of the coolest things of all time. Wow, there's the full rosters of all the NL teams. And I want to show you, oh, this is amazing. I want to show you just one more ad before I say goodnight. Because I saw this. Give me a quick second. I want to show you this. San Francisco fans will know this, will remember this. Oh, actually, it's right here. It's actually on where I kept score. Can y'all see that? At Fisherman's Wharf, right? It's DiMaggio's. Joe DiMaggio's Italian restaurant, Fisherman's Wharf, was an advertiser in this program. I mean, I'm just beside myself. Wow. This is a good mail day, and I am super excited to share it with you. A whole episode devoted to perhaps the protagonist of the 1984 All-Star Game, Candlestick Park, a ticket stub from the first game ever played in the Gray Lady, and a scorecard from that opener. I can't beat that. Wow. All right, let's stop. Let's quit. Let's go to bed. Until we meet again, may you be blessed, and may you ever enjoy health and long life. So long for now.